And so, yes, Cena was definitely one of those guys, and I absolutely was there when he was coming up. So we had heard about him even going back to 2000. He was wrestling in UPW, which was a California indie that WWE was using as a developmental territory.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard a lot of buzz about him. He was going by the name of the Prototype.
Yeah.
And so when he finally came in, there was definitely a lot of buzz. And I have to admit, when I first saw him on TV, like that famous match he had there with Kurt Angle, his first match on television in WWE, I wasn't incredibly impressed because I remember thinking like, well, they're just going to use his real name. I mean, they couldn't come up with anything better than just John Cena. I mean, how boring is that? It's the most boring name I ever heard in my life. Little did I know, right, what would happen. But he was such a nice guy, and I remember when he first came to the office there, he was not making a lot of money yet when he first came up, and he was still living in his parents' house in Massachusetts. I think he was rooming in the basement with his cousin or something like that. But he was so approachable. We did a photo shoot with him where it was the first issue of SmackDown magazine, and we did it at a like a hip hop clothing store in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And it was one of my first photo shoots as the editor. And I remember I was so nervous that I forgot to order any kind of food. Usually you order cake and you bring it.
You have a little bit of catering, yeah.
Right. And I completely forgot. I was so embarrassed. And right next door to where we were shooting was a Burger King, which if you don't know, in Italy, it's kind of like McDonald's.
No, we have it here.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, so you have it.
We've been having it for like a couple of years, not more, but they're pretty common all over Europe, just Italy.
Yeah, in America, they're kind of like the number one competitor for McDonald's. Anyway,
yeah, as well.
It's not exactly what you'd want to have for catering for a photo shoot. It's a little embarrassing. But he didn't care. He was so down to earth and nice that he went next door with me into the Burger King, and we ordered food. He got a double Whopper with cheese and fries and a Diet Coke, which I thought was really confusing. But he was so nice and down to earth and approachable. I mean, we had a lot of conversations back in those days. He was really just a huge wrestling fan. So for him to kind of get his break in the business was like a dream come true. He grew up watching wrestling.
Yeah. And literally nobody says a bad word about his attitude. His work ethic is unparalleled, and I'm so intrigued because everybody seems to have this great experience with John Cena. Actually,
I know it's kind of weird in this business. Everybody that gets to his level, especially in that company, but almost anywhere, you always hear about friction or animosity or some type of conflict happening or something. And I have never, and I mean never, and I could be wrong, I've never heard of a single issue that he has had with the company or any kind of a problem or being kind of like difficult or anything. And if he has, then it's very well hidden because he is just he is like the epitome of, I guess, what they want in their top star, in that he was completely agreeable and positive and easy to work with, and he never really let it get to his head.
Thank you for listening. Remember to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, and spread the word. To make sure we keep our high standard content going, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/LMWpodcast by becoming a €5 backer or above. You can find the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast all over the platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and more. We're also very social, so drop us a line to say hello on Twitter at LMW Podcast and on Facebook at facebook.com/LMW Podcast. I have been Frank Mandolini. Stay safe.